Sup guys, Bjorn here. Today it's gonna be a little bit more of an impromptu video maybe. I saw Blizzard made some changes to the Survival Hunter 4-piece finally, and I figured, hey, why not log on to the PTR and make a video about it straight away. So here I am. We're gonna take a look at if the bug fix actually worked, what more things Blizzard needs to fix about the Survival Hunter tier set, and what other bugs are currently plaguing this tier set maybe. So let's start by actually going over what was wrong before in the last build. And if you want a detailed summary, just go watch my other videos about the bugs. But the main bug, and the bug that Blizzard stated that they fixed in this PTR build, was the damage bug, which was essentially that the 4-piece only applied to the initial damage of the wildfire bombs, and the 4-piece damage was also really bugged and just made it do a lot more damage than intended on the initial hit of the bomb. Now it's supposed to instead empower both the dot component and the initial damage component, but the damage is now supposed to be fixed to the intended values of 30 and 80%. So let's see if that actually is true here. We can start by unequipping the tier set, the 4-piece rather, and we'll see that the bomb does 2.8k instant, 2.8k dot. With the tier set, it's 3.6k instant, 3.6k dot. So both has actually been increased by 30%, and at least in the tooltip, it works as intended. Let's see how it looks when we actually get a proc, so the empowered 80% damage. And we got one straight away, beginner's luck I guess. Let's clear this details window here and see what tooltip reads. So we have coordinated assault active. Without it, 5k instant, 3.6k dot. And when we throw it, it does, okay, 5.2k instant, 6.1k dot. This is very strange. Oh, it crit 4 times, never mind. This is false info by details. It is not working as intended still. You can see that in the tooltip as well. You clearly remember that the instant component was 5k, but the dot component was still only 3.6k. And even though it looks like the dot component did 6.1k here, or it rather did 6.1k, but that was only because it crit 4 times out of 5. So the actual dot component of the bomb only ticked for 600 still, which is what it did before the 80% empowerment. So we can clearly see here that the 30% empowerment from the 4-piece actually works both on the dot component and the instant component of the bomb, but the 80% only works on the initial component. Or at least that's what I thought at first, but let's try some more testing here guys. Oh, we got another proc straight away. We're actually insanely lucky today. Clearly, the tooltip still reads 5k instant and 3.6k dot. Let's try to throw this a little bit closer to this guy's butthole. That usually works. Oh, it didn't. Unlucky. Okay guys, I'm gonna try to do some testing off camera here and see if I can find one of these instances where the dot component clearly also works as intended, because I've had that happen just now before I turned on the camera. Let's go. Okay, we actually got the intended outcome here. So you can see that the initial damage of the bomb was clearly 5.2k as stated in the tooltip, but the dot component, even though only critting once, actually did 7.7k. And you can clearly see here that the dot component ticks for 1.1k. So what's up? Why does the dot component get buffed to 80% sometimes and sometimes it doesn't? I have no idea, to be honest. I will have to look at the footage a little bit closer. There are still a couple of other bugs that Blizzard haven't touched that were actually really detrimental to the Survival Hunter tier set in the last PTR build. And Blizzard didn't say anything about fixing them, so let's see if they're still there and what we can discern from that. The first one is the notorious cooldown reduction bug. If you want more details about that, you can check out my previous bug videos, but essentially the 2-piece on the tier set where you have a 40% chance to make your wildfire bomb incur no cooldown is actually coded as a reset of the cooldown of wildfire bomb. So instead of incurring no cooldown at all and just keeping the charges and the cooldown of a wildfire bomb as it was before you used the tier set proc, the actual code, I think at least, is firing off a wildfire bomb and putting it on cooldown, and then the code is refunding a wildfire bomb charge after that. instead of actually making it incur no cooldown in the first place. This is a very crucial difference, because during haste effects, Wildfire Bomb cooldown will actually be reduced by quite a lot. So if we are hasted, and naturally I still have 30% haste here baseline, so just without any external haste effects whatsoever, I will still actually have a much lower Wildfire Bomb cooldown than without any haste. This means that when Blizzard refunds that charge of Wildfire Bomb, they actually refund 18 seconds of cooldown of Wildfire Bomb. But my Wildfire Bomb cooldown is only 14 seconds. This means that I will get an extra 4 seconds of cooldown on top of the refund, which means that the more I proc, or rather, every time I use a tier set proc, I get a 4 seconds cooldown reduction on Wildfire Bomb for free, which means that the more I proc, the faster I can actually reduce my Wildfire Bomb cooldown. This in turn means that if I reduce that cooldown fast enough, I can actually keep a very high uptime on Pheromone Bomb, because I'm cycling through them so quickly. If I have a very high uptime on Pheromone Bomb, that means that I can reset cooldown on kill command pretty much all the time, and that in turn makes it very easy to proc the tier set. So when we are in that loop where we can constantly reset Pheromone Bombs, and that makes us constantly reset kill command, which makes us constantly proc the tier set, which makes us constantly reset Pheromone Bombs, that loop is incredible in terms of damage on both single target and AoE, but it's very bad in terms of rotation, right? Because we're only pressing kill command and Wildfire Bomb in that case. And this is the biggest bug currently that's making Survival Hunter do incredible amounts of damage, and it's the bug that definitely needs to get fixed if Survival Hunter is going to make it to 9.2 live without any severe changes. So let's see if it's still in the game here. And of course we don't get a Pheromone Bomb, but we do get a proc here. So if it's still in the game, we would assume that now when I press this, we get 2 charges instantly. And we do get 2 charges instantly. So the bug is still there. Nothing to say more than that. I guess this should get fixed in a later update, hopefully, but I desperately hope that Blizzard is aware of it at least. I hope that it's not intended. I mean, if this is intended, if this is actually how the 2-piece is supposed to work, then this is gonna cause massive problems for the Survival Hunter. It's gonna make us incredibly haste dependent. So we're gonna probably run like as much haste as we can possibly get our hands on for 35-40% haste baseline. We're never gonna press anything except Wildfire Bomb and Kill Command. So forget all Covenant spells and stuff like that. Don't worry about Raptor Strike. Don't worry about Serpent Sting at all. Just remove those spells from your action bars. And then you can also forget about Ventir, forget about Kyrian, forget about Necrolord as well. We're only gonna play Night Fae ever, because it's way too many globals to actually use the Kyrian spell, the Necrolord spell, or the Ventir spell, while as the Night Fae spell only needs to be used once every 2 minutes, so we basically don't have to actually press it. We can only press bombs and kill commands. Now obviously this might change a little bit in Mythic Plus. Kyrian might still be a little bit better in Mythic Plus and stuff like that, but on a large scale, anything that interferes with kill command and shrapnel bomb cooldowns and globals is gonna be just terrible in terms of Survival Hunter DPS if this bug makes it to live. So I sincerely hope that Blizzard fixes this. Now, the last bug that is presumably still here as well is the Hitbox Bug, in which the Wildfire Bomb has a few different instances where it hits the target. You have an initial hit where the bomb actually lands on the target. Then we have a explosion where the bomb explodes in a cone and deals instant damage. And then we have obviously the dot component where it takes those whoever got hit in the cone. But the thing is, the empowered damage actually only works on that very first hit where the bomb lands on the target. Think about it as a grenade, right? You're throwing a grenade. First we have the impact where it doesn't explode, and then it actually explodes. But the empowered damage is only on that impact, which means that you will only hit 1 or 2 targets with this impact most of the time, because it's such a small AoE. Now if this is intended or not, I don't know, but what it essentially does is it just limits survival AoE damage quite a lot, which is not necessarily a bad thing, because with this tier set, survival's AoE damage would be completely insane if this wasn't the case right now with this Hitbox Bug. But it does make it incredibly frustrating, because sometimes you'll have this little thing hit like 4 or 5 targets because they're so closely stacked. Sometimes you won't hit more than 1 mob ever with this. Okay, so summing up then, what are these bug fixes? Well, Blizzard has fixed the tooltip and the actual damage of the first part of the 4-piece, while as the 80% empowered part doesn't work on the dot component in the tooltip, and it only works on the dot component in reality a small portion of the time. I'm not really quite sure how often, maybe less than 20% of the time. The cooldown reduction bugs are still not fixed at all. They're the same as they've always been, and that almost kind of makes me think that it's maybe intended because Blizzard didn't touch on it. And if we look at the 2-piece here, if this is just how all incur no cooldown effects work, then this is actually intended, and this means that we won't get away from this kill commanding spamming playstyle whatsoever in 9.2. It's simply just gonna be there probably no matter what we do, which is pretty sad. In terms of the hitbox bug, no update either, and it's pretty sad to see our AoE damage suffer from that, but it isn't as big of a deal now that a lot of the increased damage is also in the dot component of the bomb. We won't be as molding if we can't hit that initial damage onto every single mob. So all in all, the hitbox bug won't be as big of an issue if they actually manage to move more of the damage into the dot component of the bomb. One extra thing that is actually quite big here, I think, since you will be getting so many bomb presets, you can actually override your last dot with the new dot. And when the tier set was bugged with the initial damage, this wasn't really a big deal because so much of the damage was just front loaded in the initial hit. Now, with the damage actually being quite spread out into the dot component as well, you really don't want to be overriding the dot component of the previous bomb. And normally this isn't an issue because all of the different kinds of bombs have different dot IDs, right? So shrapnel bomb won't override a volatile bomb or a pheromone bomb, and that still applies. But now with the tier set, you can get into a situation where you, for example, have a shrapnel bomb, you throw it out, then you get a pheromone bomb, but then you instantly get a proc, which means that you would want to throw that pheromone bomb out as well, but now you're sitting at 2 charges because of the CDR bug, which means that now you'll want to throw out that next shrapnel bomb as well, and it hasn't yet been 6 seconds, so the AoE, rather the dot component from the first shrapnel bomb hasn't fallen off yet, which means that you will refresh that shrapnel bomb, which means that you will actually lose damage. I am not actually quite sure if the dot adds on top of it, the other dot as it does with Serpent Sting and Warlock dots and such, or if it just simply flatly overrides the damage component. But if it does flatly override the last dot, then this is obviously going to be a huge DPS loss if you're constantly overriding your former bombs. But on the other hand, I don't think there's a big way to get away from this, because if we're actually in this haste heavy kill command CDR bug state where we just spam kill command and throw bombs on cooldown, we simply won't really care about whether we're losing dot damage or not. We'll just simply throw out every single bomb on cooldown because it just does way too much damage to not do it, and it's crucial to the loop itself that we're actually throwing out those bombs on cooldown as well. Otherwise we'll just simply fall out of the loop. Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed this quick little PTR look. I personally also very much hope that Blizzard will fix these things with the survival hunter, because this is not looking too hot for 9.2 now all of a sudden with these CDR bugs and the nerf damage. But let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Subscribe if you want more 9.2 and survival hunter content, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye bye. Huh? Oh, you're still here. Well, I'm sorry. I think you should probably go and check out a video maybe over here or somewhere here. You can even subscribe down here. That would be really, really nice. I would highly appreciate that. I'm gonna go snort some more lines. See ya.